You ever have one of those mornings where the world feels handcrafted just for you? The kind of Texas dawn that makes you believe in God again. Pink bleeding into orange. Mist curling off the water like the lake itself is exhaling after a long night. Your $24 foot Skeeter FXR rocking gentle on its lift. The only sound the soft slap of wave against cedar dock. Coffee so dark it could wake the dead. And you're standing there barefoot in flannel pants thinking, this is what $52 million actually buys. Yeah, that was me. Ethan James Caldwell, 39 years old, former Silicon Valley ghost, now proud owner of Whispering Pines Ranch, 60 acres of pure hill country, heaven 2 hours east of Austin. And then, gravel crunching like bones under boot, 3 Williamson County Sheriff's Tahoes rolling up my driveway at 7:02 a.m. like I'm running a meth lab instead of sipping Yetafe on my own damn dock. Deputy Maria Ramirez steps out first, mirrored shades, arms crossed, and across the lake. There she is, Mrs. Evelyn Marie Bradshaw, president of the Crystal Cove Estates HOA, standing on her second-story balcony in a silk robe the color of arterial spray, pointing at me with a manicured finger like she's calling in an airstrike. Mr. Caldwell, Ramirez says, voice flat as West Texas Highway. We've received multiple complaints of illegal commercial vessel operation, reckless endangerment, and visual pollution. Visual pollution? I almost snort coffee out my nose. The only thing polluted here is Evelyn's soul after decades of breathing her own exhaust. I set the mug down slow, feel the cedar planks warm under my feet, and smile the same smile that once made venture capitalists cry and sign term sheets in blood. Deputy, the only commercial operation on this lake is the fantasy Crystal Cove has been selling for 5 years. Because every single brochure, every open house, every smug realtor promised exclusive lake access that nobody ever legally purchased. Ramirez blinks. Across the water, Evelyn is already on her phone, probably live streaming to the next door mob. Let me take you back, real slow, the way a good bourbon burns, because this story didn't start with cops on my dock. It started the day I buried my old life in San Francisco and drove east until the air smelled like freedom and cow shit. 15 years building Sentinel AI, nights where I forgot what sunlight looked like, marriages that crumbled under the weight of stock options. Then one Tuesday morning, Google wired $52 million into my account, and I was done. Hoodie traded for Wranglers, Tesla for a '76 Ford Highboy. And I swore the next time someone told me what to do, it would be Jesus himself. Found Whispering Pines on a dusty realtor site at 3 a.m., 60 acres, 8-acre spring-fed lake. Main house built in 1888 with beams thick as redwood lies. And the seller, Mr. Harlan Whitaker, 83, hands like leather Bibles, shook my hand on the porch and said, "Son, whatever you do, don't let Crystal Cove tell you where to piss in your own creek." I laughed, tipped my hat, signed the papers, and 3 weeks later, I'm floating in my Skeeter at sunrise feeling like God just handed me a second draft at life. First morning I launched, pure baptism, diesel mixing with wet cedar and wild onion, base hitting topwater like they were mad at the world, and 23 minutes in, here comes Evelyn Bradshaw marching down the ridge in heels that cost more than my first car, clipboard swinging, lips pursed so tight they could crack pecans. That eyesore violates Section 7.2 of the Aesthetic Harmony Covenant. She actually said that. Aesthetic harmony, like my lake, was her HOA's personal snow globe. I killed the engine, drifted closer, let the silence stretch until even the crickets felt awkward. Ma'am, this is private property, private water, private air, private everything. You're trespassing just to deliver that lecture. Her face went crimson, the kind of red that makes you check for stroke symptoms. The covenants are binding across visual corridors, she hissed, pen scratching like a guillotine sharpening itself. Remove that mechanical monstrosity or face litigation that will drain your children's inheritance. I don't have children, lady, but I have lawyers who bill by the nanosecond. She stormed off, heels stabbing the dirt like exclamation points, and I stood there watching her white Range Rover kick up dust, thinking, welcome to Texas, Ethan, population. You and one very angry Karen. 48 hours later, the escalations hit, like a hill country flash flood. County Inspector Tommy Nguyen, nice guy, shows up looking like he'd rather be waterboarded than deal with this. Mr. Caldwell, Mrs. Bradshaw filed 17 complaints, says you're running a charter service, endangering wildlife, lowering property values. 17? In 2 days? I walked him to the dock, pointed at my lone skeeter. Tommy, that's one boat, one owner, 0 customers, 0 revenue. The only thing I'm chartering is my own peace and quiet. He sighed, so deep his soul rattled. Between you and me, she's filed 63 complaints in 4 years. We call her the widowmaker down at the office. That night, I went full hacker mode. Hadn't felt this alive since debugging at 4 a.m. in my underwear. County courthouse basement, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets. Boxes older than my dad. And there it was, 1962 survey showing the lake artificially expanded with ranch funds. 1974 deed, retaining senior water rights to the entire Cottonwood Creek watershed, and not one single easement ever granted to Crystal Cove. They'd been trespassing for 5 straight years, launching kayaks off my ramp, posting #LakeLife on Instagram, while paying Evelyn $2,500 a year each for lake maintenance on water she didn't own. 62 grand annually into her slush fund. I sat in my truck at midnight, windows fogged, laughing so hard tears ran down my face, because the universe just handed me a loaded shotgun and said, "Here, go hunting." The next 3 weeks were a masterclass in suburban terrorism. Noise complaints at 5:51 a.m. because my engine disturbed migratory birds. We have crows, Evelyn, angry crows. Environmental petitions claiming 2-stroke exhaust was giving bald eagles asthma. Then the nuclear option. She called 911 saying my boat nearly decapitated children at 6:14 a.m. on a Wednesday. My Arlo Ultra cameras showed a lake, so empty you could hear the fish yawning. Deputy Ramirez watched the footage, rubbed her temples like she was fighting a migraine with fists, marched across the water, and I swear Evelyn's silhouette shrank 3 inches when Ramirez said, "Ma'am, filing a false report is a Class B misdemeanor. Do it again, and we're cuffing you on your own balcony." But Evelyn didn't shrink, she metastasized. Her husband Gerald, a walking midlife crisis in Oakleys, started parking at the property line with Leica binoculars, timing my casts like a creepy Olympic judge. Someone nailed "no motorized vessels" signs to my cedar posts on my land. Someone dumped fluorescent green pool shock in my cove, killed every minnow for 50 yards. Then the light bulb that turned rage into religion. Gerald Bradshaw was VP of Acquisitions at Blue Horizon Development, the same vultures buying every ranch within 10 miles, planning Phase 2 of Crystal Cove for 100 homes, private marina, all dependent on my upstream flow. They weren't mad about my boat. They wanted my ranch cheap after bleeding me dry in court. I hired Victoria Lang, water rights attorney with a Harvard degree and a Texas accent sharp enough to shave with, for $1,800 an hour and worth every cent. She took one look at my 1895 deed and whispered, "Ethan, you don't just own the lake. You own the entire Cottonwood Creek watershed. Senior appropriative rights. That means you can legally do water every dock downstream. Turn their McMansions into desert view lots." I felt my pulse in my teeth. 2 miles downstream sat Rusty Anchor Marina, built in 1976 by Walt McAllister, Vietnam vet, Purple Heart, built every dock with his own hands after coming home missing half his friends. His wife Doris died of pancreatic cancer last year. Bills stacked higher than his John boat. Bank foreclosing in 19 days. Walt showed me a 1960 survey, voice cracking like old leather. "Your springs feed my entire operation, son. Whoever owns upstream owns my heartbeat." The marina came bundled with the only public ramp Crystal Cove had been using for free, trespassing on Walt too. I did the math in my head. $1.35 million cash, close in 7 days. Walt stays GM, full benefits. Grandson inherits the legacy. We shook hands in his office that smelled like shrimp bait and broken dreams, and I swear the man aged backwards 10 years. I formed Caldwell Waterfront Holdings LLC, wired the money, hired Marcus Delgado, ex-Texas Water Board enforcer turned consultant, and turned my dining room into a war room that would make NORAD jealous. Walls covered in topographic maps, red yarn, security stills, projected revenue models, the whole beautiful chaos. Victoria filed preliminary injunctions. Marcus mapped every illegal use of my ramp for 5 years. Tommy Nguyen became our inside man at code enforcement, feeding us Evelyn's next moves before she even thought them. But Evelyn smelled blood in the water. Hired a PI who lasted 9 days before quitting, said Evelyn's behavior was concerning, possibly delusional. Then the sabotage went from petty to felonious. Gerald caught on 4K at 2:47 a.m. slicing my dock lines with a Gerber machete. Used motor oil dumped upstream, turning the creek rainbow slick. Fake Yelp reviews claiming Walt served week-old shrimp to children. Health department raids. Coordinated Google reviews tanking the Marina before it even reopened. I didn't sleep for 72 hours. Lived on what and vengeance. Eyes bloodshot. Grinning like a man who just found out the devil owes him money. The county commissioner's hearing was the Super Bowl, Coachella, and Judgment Day rolled into one. County courthouse packed tighter than a honky-tonk on Saturday. Local news, phones live streaming, fluorescent lights humming like angels tuning up. Evelyn strutted in with 14 disciples wearing matching Save Our Lake shirts dyed the exact shade of desperation. Launched into a 20-minute sermon about greedy coastal elites destroying rural values, while tears glistened like she'd practiced in the mirror. Her grand finale? A petition with 83 signatures demanding the county seize my water rights via eminent domain. The crowd murmured, half bought it. My turn. I didn't stand dramatically, didn't raise my voice, just walked to the podium in boots older than her HOA. Click the projector, and let the truth do the screaming. Slide 1. 1,895 water rights deed, senior to every subdivision in 3 counties. Slide 2. 5 years of 4K trespassing footage, time-stamped, GPS overlaid. Slide 3. Gerald Bradshaw at 2:47 a.m. hacking my dock lines like a discount pirate. Slide 4. HOA bank records, $312,000 collected in fraudulent lake fees. Slide 5. Water quality reports showing improvement of 400% since I banned trespassers. The room went so quiet you could hear Evelyn's heartbeat trying to file a noise complaint. She snapped, jumped up screaming about deep fakes, bribes, coastal money corrupting our officials, had to be physically escorted out still yelling, while Deputy Ramirez served restraining orders like party favors. Commissioners voted 7-0 upholding my rights, issued a formal resolution commending responsible stewardship and economic revitalization. And I cut a $100,000 check on the spot, $50,000 to watershed restoration, $50,000 to scholarships for local kids studying environmental science. Crowd lost their minds. Walt hugged me so hard my spine rearranged. Victoria kissed me in front of God and Channel 8 News. 6 months later, Rusty Anchor Marina is the beating heart of 3 counties. 89% slip occupancy, 3-month wait list, revenue triple projections. Water so clear you can see base counting your sins. Eagles nested again for the first time since 1998. We host monthly veteran tournaments. Raised $47,000 for PTSD therapy. Walt's grandson Luke runs the tackle shop, calls me Uncle Ethan now. 11 former Crystal Cove families sent handwritten apologies, became my best customers, bring their kids every Saturday to learn casting from a man who once stormed Key San. Evelyn lost the recall 68-3, settled my 7-figure lawsuit for $87,000 and public apology published in the Williamson County Sunday. Gerald pleaded to criminal mischief and environmental vandalism for 100 hours community service scrubbing oil off rocks he poisoned, wearing an orange vest that clashed gloriously with his ego. Their mansion sold last month to a young couple who just want to raise labs and catch crappie. Rumor is Evelyn moved to a dry county in Arizona where the only water she controls is in her Brita. I married Victoria on the dock where this all began. Barefoot, sunset bleeding fire across the water, Walt walked her down the aisle he built in 1978. Luke caught a 10-pound bass during the vows. True story. Some nights I still sit out there, cold shiner in hand, stars so thick you could bottle them. And I think about how one entitled busybody tried to steal my peace and accidentally handed me an empire, a family, a legacy bigger than any exit I ever signed. So YouTube, I gotta ask, when someone tries to control your land, your water, your freedom, your sunrise, do you roll over and pay their fake fees? Or do you buy the whole damn watershed and make them beg for a cup of your mercy? Drop your HOA nightmares below. Tag your friends fighting the same fight, because I read every single comment. And if you're in the trenches, DM me. Victoria still owes me a favor. Smash subscribe. Ring that bell, because the next David just loaded his sling, and this time the giant's wearing a visor and a clipboard. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's creation, building something so beautiful the bullies can only watch from the shore they no longer own. See you on the water, family. Tight lines and karmic justice.